10 years back, it had aroused great hopes and prospects of emerging as a global superpower. But when the previous government NDA's term ended and Mr. Chidambaram became the finance minister in the year 2004 after the elections, he said the economic fundamentals of India are very strong and the balance of payments robust. Which means that the balance of payment account, the external account of India, is in favor of India in 54 years. Only in 4 years India had surplus in the external account. Till 2002, for the 25-year period, we had only deficits. You know, in the 150th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, the National Intelligence Council of America, which is the think tank attached to the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, they came out with a report, what the world will be in 2030. And in that report, it is said, all the major world powers today will become regional powers. There will be only 3 major world powers, which are called global powers. That will be America, China, and India. That what operates on the ground is very different from what is being perceived. I will give you a small statistics. You all look at the Economic Times and Business Standard as to what is the Sensex of India. Sensex of India consists of 30 Indian companies. You know, the contribution of the 30 Indian companies to Indian GDP is just 1%. You know, the private sector in India used to employ 75 lakh people in 1991. It employs 115 lakh people, just an improvement of 30 lakhs with all this IT, with all the growth in the financial sector, with all the growth in the stock market. The largest economic performance has been by the non-corporate sector, in which there are 43 million non-farming enterprises, 75% of them unregistered, which employ 100 million people, for which the bank finance is just 5%. This is India. The foreign exchange reserves touching 300 billion and projected to rise to 325 billion before the UPA term ends is the proud claim of Chidambaram. But he would not utter a word about almost 4-fold rise in foreign debt from 112 billion to 246 billion by December 2013. He will not utter a word about the rise in the short-term debt by 26 times. You know, borrowing short-term abroad is the best way to destroy the rupee, because you have to pay back in 3 years, 4 years. External commercial borrowings have risen by 6 times. And trade finance has risen by 22 times. Why will the rupee not fall? The rupee fell because of extravagance. And a lie was being told and believed and propagated, and people are evangelized into believing that lie. What will we do? Oil is something which we cannot avoid importing. Oil imports have dented the external sector. And our country is having such a lust for gold. It is gold which is responsible for it. I tell you, in no other country such lies could be told. I am going to demonstrate it to you as to how these were secondary reasons. From 45 rupees to $1, the rupee depreciated to 68 rupees to $1. Crash. 2,30,000 crores is the additional liability India incurred because of the fall in the value of the rupee. Did anyone understand what was the consequence of the fall in the value of the rupee? And a country which is having huge imports, when the rupee value falls, imports become costlier. Who will absorb that cost? The banks, the government, the people. $339 billion was the current account deficit. And why this $339 billion deficit occurred? We were told it is oil, We were told it is gold. I am going to tell you the true story. The amount of capital goods India imported in this 9-year period was $587 billion. And we ran a huge trade deficit. From whom did we import? We imported from China. We ran a trade deficit of $175 billion with China. It is 5 years India's defense expenditure. Every nation has to protect its market, protect its industry, protect its exports. That is the game. Everybody will talk of free trade, but nobody will do it. Everybody will talk of freedom, nobody will give. But we talked and believed because we had such a docile leadership who wanted appreciation from the white man. You have intellectuals who have no independence. You have businessmen who have no intense knowledge. The economic discourse of India was informed only by illiteracy. $587 billion is the capital goods import. You know what is the net oil import? You will be stunned. It is just $505 billion. Less than the capital goods import. Oil always used to be high. You don't produce it. Capital goods you produce. L&T produces turbines. BHEL produces turbines. But you go and import gas turbines from China, which will work only for 12 years. You have BHEL producing, which will work for 20 years. But because China was giving suppliers credit at 1% interest, Ambanis and others began importing from there. And to facilitate this import, zero-rated duty facilities were given. Year after year, 2.5 lakh crores is the tax waiver given to people, given to industries, big companies. Nobody has audited whether these tax benefits have resulted in development. No audit. Prime Minister as well as the Finance Minister, both of them made a statement. We have very low taxation in the world. And so we are going to reconsider the exemptions. These tax shelters we will remove. So we all thought in the February budget of 2005, all these exemptions will go. No exemption was withdrawn. You know, in the last 5 years, the total tax giveaway has been 30 lakh crores. The fiscal deficit is 23.5 lakh crores. External deficit of $339 billion. Fiscal deficit of 23.5 lakh crores. How will the Indian rupee be strong? Take India to be a company and look at the balance sheet of the government of India, which is the budget. If the budget shows annually 4.5 lakh to 5 lakh crores of deficit, how will the Indian rupee be sustained? In addition to that, your external borrowings, your imports are more. And you bring in imports which hit the local economy. Now you look at, whenever you import capital goods, your local manufacturing must go up. That is the theory. Because these are capital goods. You don't need them. You use them to produce goods. See what happens. In the first 4 years of the UPA rule, the manufacturing growth was 11.5%. But in the next 5 years of UPA rule, the manufacturing growth comes down to 4%. And the capital goods industry, which was rising, it makes a net reduction of 10% in the last 2 years. L&T closes down its units. BHEL closes down its units. Jayaprakash is declaring bankruptcy. This is the effect of capital goods import. Tell me, where is any news item which you have read in the newspapers about it? But you allowed the economy to drift, virtually collapse. You know what saved India? The country was saved only by families. Most of us do not even know that family has any relationship to economics. You know, the Indians' family savings, which constituted 80% of the total savings of India. So savings of India went up from 21% of the GDP to 37% of the GDP. Now it is hovering around 30 to 31% of the GDP. This is what improved the investment of India from 24% to almost 40% for us to reach a 10% growth rate. Because there is a relationship between investment and growth. If you have 4 rupees of investment, on a capital output ratio of 4:1, you are supposed to produce 1% growth. That is why we invested 40% and reaped a 10% growth rate, in which the foreign investment was very minuscule. That means Indians produce the savings you needed. Indians not only produce the savings, they also produce savings from outside. You know, it is our children who are working abroad, sending money for their parents, for education of their brothers or sisters, or the marriages at home, or building houses. In the 9-year period, they sent $337 billion. It will not happen in America. Nobody is bothered about the family. It will not happen in England. Nobody is bothered about the parents. It will not happen in France. Nobody is bothered about their sisters. This is a culturally driven economy. Otherwise, we would have been bankrupt long ago. Have you ever read this in any news item? You have finance ministers and prime ministers and deputy chairman of the planning commission who have no faith in India. They have not resided in India. 30 years they have been away from India. With the result, the rupee collapsed, external sector became weak, and understand that you didn't fare well in the external sector, you spent a lot of money. What about the growth in the employment? Between 1999 and 2004, in the 5-year period, we produced 60.7 million jobs. As I told you, it is considered to be a record. If it had continued for the next 10 years, we would have lifted most of the people in below poverty line like China had done. 10 years if it had continued. Another 12 million jobs. India would have been a superpower. You know what was the addition to the job from 2004 to 2010? You will not believe if I tell you the numbers. Just 2.7 million in this period of 6 years. Just 2.5 million. Only 37,500 jobs a month. Completely, you are posting 10% growth rate. Chidambaram claims between 2004 and 2008, I was the finance minister. I produced 8.5% growth. Afterwards, Pranab became the finance minister. Don't ask me, ask him. He cannot reply. He is sitting in the Rashtrapati Bhavan like this. And fortunately, I have written an article in which I have somewhat said, you must give Pranab Mukherjee the due. UP added 14 million jobs in 2010, 11, 11, 12. This was not Chidambaram's. Pranab Mukherjee was there at that time. Only in 2012, Chidambaram came. So Pranab Mukherjee produced 14 million jobs in 2 years. You produced only 2.7 million jobs in 6 years and finished India. So our position today is, we have a weak external sector, we are weak on employment, our savings has come down from 37% to 30%, we have foreign debt grown from 112 million to 426 million. The economy has been dismembered in the most unthinkable way by a leadership which was just not worried about India. It was only worried about how to save the day in parliament from 2G and coal. This became the concern. So we have a bad economy. We made a survey of 72 women professors. And so we asked them what is their investment pattern. We said we first prefer bank deposits, then we want to buy a home, then we buy gold. They stopped at that. Then we said, what about stock market? No, 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 no. Only 4 or 5 of them said we also invest in stocks. I said, you are teaching in the class every day the stock market is the most important thing. No, no, no. That is what the textbook says. This is our economic teaching, economic policy, economic discourse. Behavior is completely different. There is no honest connectivity, there is no real connectivity between the way the Indian people behave, particularly the Indian women. I want to tell you an episode. In the year 1993, 92-93, Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister. There is one Dr. Jagdish Bhagwati, a very famous economist in America, who was the one who framed the entire WTO, World Trade Organization. A very respected man, he was called the god of free trade. Dr. Manmohan Singh asked him, we are in a mess. How do we come out of this mess? He said, you can never come out of this mess unless you follow what I am going to tell you. He said, you can never make the Indian family spend unless you make the Indian women spend. You know, it was a serious advice given to the government of India. The Indian women sang the advertisement songs, listened to the music, but did not buy the goods. What I am saying is proven by statistics. The family savings of 19% in 1991-92 went up to 28% in 2009. Two things if you do, you can turn the economy of India. One, you must bring back a part of the black money parked outside India by cheating India. Congress has done nothing in this 10-year period to bring back the money because even 100, 200 billion dollar out of what is believed to be $1 trillion of money residing outside India, which can turn the complete face of India. Next is gold. A one-third buyer of gold can decide the world gold prices. I said, now you have got to make the people invest this gold in government bonds for which you have to give tax immunity. You say, I don't want to ask you where you got the gold from, what is your source. You are completely exempt from taxation. You put it in government bond for 10 years, 15 years. We will return the gold as gold and also give you a 2%, 3% return. If government of India says this year we are not going to import gold, the world gold prices will crash to 50%. The game is in your hands. Mr. Pranab Mukherjee was very impressed. He said, we will do it. Then he gave me a dinner and said, why we can't do it? But I think one honest leader, one capable person, one person who doesn't mind about the consequences and only bothered about the country can turn this country in just 1 year. And I suppose this election will produce such a person. Thank you very much.